So welcome to the chapter number 6, create CRUD operations application by using 3.x Cakephp. In the last chapter we have already created a controller and view by using Cakephp and manual method. Today we try to do some database activities, and in this chapter we'll create everything manually so that you can understand how to create an application by using Cakephp very quickly, also manually. So this is our controller. We are working on this controller, users controller. And if you see this users controller, there are some functions already created by your Cakephp command line. Okay, so this is the index function, there is a view function, and these functions is basically created by your Cakephp. Now we want to read some data from your database by using a function. We'll create a function, we'll read the data from the database. We have a database called, this is our database, and this database is a table called users table. We have 2 records in my table, and this is my, I want to create something like this. This is basically generated by your Cakephp, but I want to create manually. So go to your controller and create a function like public function, and this public function you will create a variable data. So create this function. This function is basically read the data from the database. So how to read the data? So $this, just write a users, this is the name of the table, and find function, there is a function, find function, it will read all the data from the database. This particular line, basically, this find function, it will read all the data from your table called users table. So this is similar to your select statement from the table name users table. This is similar to this. Okay. So I'm getting the data. So this data will read, will get the data from the users table, but I want to get this data in an array form. So there is a function called toArray. This function will convert the data from your object to an array function. And now you just write $this, and I will just write set variable, one variable, take any variable, and this is $all data. Now this is my variable. This variable now available in my CTP file. I have to create a new CTP file, get underscore data. So when go and create your CTP file, this is the template folder. This is the template folder. Inside the template folder, I have a users folder because this is the name of the controller. And inside this folder, I have to create get underscore data.ctp file. So new file I have to create. That file name should be get underscore data.ctp file. And here I can able to access that variable I have created in my controller, list of users. So this is my CTP file, and as you see, I have created a variable called all data. This variable now available in this CTP file. If you want to see, $peer $all data. Okay, So if you want to see whether the data is coming to your CTV file or not, you can check it out. Users, and the action is get data. Now as you see, the data is coming, but because I have two records in my users table, test and test1. If you see, there is two records, test, the name is test, ID is 1, and the second one is test 1, ID is 2, there is no other table record. So data is coming to my CTP file, this is my CTP file, and I want to print it out in particular format. So this table class is table. Now table is closed right now. Table is closed, and inside this table I can write my codes. TS. I want to write print the ID first. Then TS is closed. Similarly, I want to print the name. The name is closed right now. Similarly, TS and email. Fine. So this is the heading, table heading. Now after that, I want to print my what? I want to print my data from the database, coming from the database. So for that, I have to use PSP code here, and this is the PSP code. You can write like this. For each, because the data is coming in the form of array, so I want to use all data. Okay, so because why I am writing this, because the data, this is the data coming from the database, and I am using this particular variable. Now as $1, for example, any variable you can put. This is the intermediate variable I want to use to print the individual fields. So you write echo, then a tier. Now the echo and the tier is closed right now because I want to print this thing in one row. Echo, then a td, then I put my variable 1, and this is the field name. ID is the name of the field. So just close the td. Similar to this, you can use other fields, for example, name and email ID. So you just write name, and here you just write email. Instead of ID, you just write email. So that's it. Now it is okay. Go to the browser again and say okay. Now the data is coming exactly. It is getting the data from the database. We have two records only, so that's why it is displaying only two records in my browser. So next is I want to create a link here to display the complete row. Right now I have only 3 information, but may have more than 3 informations. So I want to display the complete record. So you can create a view, and there is a delete and edit options. So how to do that? Go to your get_data.ctv file. Here after email ID, after this I want to create a link called view link. So you would write like this, echo $this. Why I'm writing this? I can use like this also. I can use anchor tag, AHREF. I can like this also, but I do not want to use the HTML directly. This Cakephp framework or frameworks generally provide some helpers or some functions by which we can create these HTMLs. tags. So in this case, I want to create a link, hyperlink. So to create an hyperlink, what you have to do is you to use a function called a link functions. So it will create an HTML link. So this is known as the helper, $this HTML. So I am writing this HTML because this is a helper. What is helper in Cakephp? Helper means it helps to create different type of HTML. This is the helper, HTML helper. This HTML helper is basically used to create HTML tags. There are other helpers, as a form helper are also there, like this. There are predefined helpers are there. So this form helper basically used to create forms. But right now I want to create an HTML tag that is a link, hyperlink. So you just write link. What I want to display, I want to display a link. And when I click on this particular link, if you go to browser, you can see refresh. So there is a link already. There is semicolon. So if you go and see, the link has been created here because I do not have a TRTD. So you put in TRTD here, TD and dot, and here you TD and dot and TD. Now you see, go to browser and refresh it. Now the view is coming, this link is coming, but when I click this link, it is doing nothing. Okay, so you're not calling any other functions or actions. So for that, I have to write the second parameter. View, it is displaying the text. The second one is the action. When I click on this particular text, what it will do? It will call the controller, and the controller is users. I want to call this users controller. And inside the users controller, I have to create an action that is a function. And this function I want to create like profile. Profile, I have to create this particular function. This is the functions I have to create in my users controller. Okay, the next is, that means when refresh it now, go to browser and refresh it. Now when I am clicking here, you see it is calling users controller and profile function. But the very important point is, I want to get data of a particular user. So I have to pass the ID of the user. So after profile, comma, you just write $1 ID of the user, ID. So you see, this is the way to write the controller. This is the action, and this is the ID, comma separated. Okay. Now this is okay, fine. Now I go to browser again, go back and refresh it. And if you see, and we click here, you see it is calling users controller profile function and ID number 1. At the same time, it is also saying that please create a function or action inside the controller called profile. So next step is I have to create a function like this. Now everything is okay here in my CTP file, everything is okay. I am able to call the controller, the profile action and passing an ID. Go to your function controller and create a new function or action called profile. So this is a function, and this function is basically getting a data. This is ID. This ID is basically coming to this profile function. After profile, there is the ID. So that means the profile function or action is getting a value, integer value. So I am writing $user ID is This is a variable. You can take any variable. Now I want to read the data from the database right now according to depending upon the user ID. So read data from the database is very easily. You can read the data by using a find function just like this. So you just write profile, a variable, you can take any variable or any variable you can take. So for example, one data, and you cite all this users from which table I want to get the data, users table, and find. I want to find data of which record, where condition, where ID, this is the field name, is equal to $user ID. This is the data is coming, user ID. So it will, where condition, where is the function? This is a function. So here in this function I can define my condition. What is the condition is basically ID is equal to 1. Now get the data and convert it into array, to array. So this function is nothing but it is equal to select star from use table where ID is equal to $user ID. This is similar to this. Okay. So now I am able to get the data from the database. Okay. So the data is coming. Now you just do one thing. You just set the data $this set 1 $1 data. So this is my variable. This is available to my profile.ctb file. I have a profile function, so I have to create a profile.ctb file. So go and create this profile.ctb. This is the template users folder. Create a profile, new file. The new file name should be profile.ctb. So this is profile on the profile. You just write profile. This one. Okay. So if you want to see print PHP and PHP close, and I have a variable is coming from the controller here $1. And if you want to see, then go to browser again, and you see go back. And if you press here, click in view, it is displaying that particular user. Okay. So this is the data is coming from the database, exactly the one ID number 1. I want to print it by using your, so simply you just print. The data is simply coming like this. It is a 0. So only one record will come. So for example, I want to print it by using P statement only. So you just write ID and you just write $1. You just write like this $1. This is the variable is coming 0. Then ID. Then it is closed. So similarly, you can print. Similarly, you can print the other data. If you want to display the name and the email ID, you can write like this. I want to print the name also, the name, the email, and here I am writing email. The data is coming. Now go to a browser again and refresh it. Now ID is equal to 1, everything is coming okay. If you click on the second one, it is also displaying this one. So in this way you can read the data from the database of a particular user. The important point is here, if you want to provide a condition to the find function, you can use the where function, then the condition. We'll discuss this thing in later chapter also, but in this way you can get the data from the database by using conditions. Now the profile I can read individual record by using the where conditions also, but now I want to do one thing, get data. So this is my screen. I want to create another link called delete link. So that will delete the record from the database. How it is possible? So just go to your CTP file again, get data. See, this is get data .ctp file. Similar to your view, you just create another link. So that link would be, this is the link I am creating, delete. I'll change this thing later in this. We are using basically it is a link called link. There is a post link which is also their function. We'll use that particular function. Right now, I'm using the simple hyperlink. So that is a delete text. It will display on the link. It will call a function called, for example, del function. And file save, go to the browser. This is the ID it is coming. I have to create a function called del function. So let's see whether this is creating the link or not. Go to the browser and refresh it. Now it is displaying delete. It's okay now. I have to create a function called del function in my controller. So this is my controller. Just write a create public function del and ID is coming. So it's write ID. So you can write like this: user variable, user variable. You create a user variable. There is a variable $this. From which table I am working in this table, users table I am working. There is a function called get function. Get function is basically getting a particular ID record from the database. Get function, reading a particular ID, particular row record from the database. So then I am writing $this users table. Then what I want to delete? I want to delete the current record. The record, this is the record I want to delete. So delete this users. So that's it. This is the function delete from. This is similar to delete from users where ID is equal to 1, 2, 3 or something like that, $ID. This is the this is the SQL statement it will generate. So what I am deleting? Users table. From the users table I am deleting the user I have read it here in this particular line. So this will delete the data, then it will redirect to my source data, because this is my view, that is the get data. So I want to redirect after deleting, after calling this particular function, I want to redirect. So $this redirect. I want to redirect to, this is a function, redirect to what? I want to redirect to my get data, this function I want to redirect. Okay, so just like this, I want to redirect. Otherwise, if you see, this is a function, basically redirect is a function, so it contains an array and I want to redirect to action, and this action is get data redirection. So you can write like this, go to the browser again, so go to the browser again, and I want to delete this thing. Or it is deleting, but it is not displaying an error message. To display error message, I have to write something. So in Cakephp, for displaying error, it uses the session component. So I want to display the error message also. So to display error message, Cakephp, very simple. You can write all of this. Set flash, just like this. Okay, flash success. So what I do is set flash, just like this. Is we'll discuss all this thing. This is flash function. Okay, so in this way you can also set the flash. So to display the error message, you write flash, then you can write success, just like this. This is function, basically I want to set an error message, I want to create an error message. Here flash success, and like this you can create an error message. So here I want to create an error message, record deleted. The error message can be created, and this error message can be displayed in your in your get data .ctv file. You go to this, and here above this you just type php download this flash render. Okay. That's it. Go to the browser again and say okay, and say delete. The record is deleted. Now the database is now empty. You can delete the record like this. So it's very simple. The messages I have created here, there is a flash message. Basically we'll discuss this message, how to create messages and how to create message templates. We'll discuss all this thing in the later chapter, but simply in the controller I have created this message. So this message is basically rendered or displayed here in this particular CTB file. So this is your $this flash render. It is rendering the data or the message created here in this particular function. Okay, then it is redirecting to get data. Get data is basically displaying this error message. So in this chapter I have created the view and delete. In the next chapter we'll try to edit the data, update the data from the database. Then we'll go for the login system and authentication system. Then, and after that, we'll go to create the template complete website by using and different other aspects of database and ORM in the coming chapters. Till then, thank you.